Have you ever wondered what life is like beyond the world's most majestic mountain ranges, where clouds cover everything all year round? We're in Nepal, the land of endless peaks, but instead of following the crowd trying to conquer Everest or trek around Annapurna, today we're taking a different path, a trail that takes us back in time to a valley that stayed hidden until the Nepalese government officially opened it up to foreigners. The year is 2002. This place is Narfu. The name sounds like a whisper in the wind. Nar and Fu, two villages, two worlds tucked away behind canyons so deep that sunlight barely reaches the bottom. This isn't just any trip. It's a pilgrimage deep into the heart of Mother Earth, a test for both body and soul. To get there, we have to cross the last frontier of modern life. To understand why Narfu is such a special place, we first need to find it on the map of the sacred, Nepal. It's home to 8 of the 14 highest peaks on Earth. Every year, tens of thousands of travelers come here to take on legendary routes like Everest Base Camp or the Annapurna Circuit. Those names are the backbone of modern trekking, but Narfu is in a whole different league. This hidden valley only welcomes a few hundred, maybe 1,000 visitors a year. That's a tiny number compared to the crowds that pack Everest. You need a special permit to enter this hidden sanctuary. The government requires restricted area permits that cost $100 per week, and you must be accompanied by a certified guide. Nepal is deliberately protecting this place from mass tourism, and in my opinion, it's one of the smartest decisions they've made. Narfu isn't for everyone. It's for those willing to give up comfort in exchange for discovering something truly pure. That trade-off doesn't start with it's not an official document, but just a single step that changes direction when you get to Koto. Koto sits at about 2,600 meters above sea level. For many, it's just a quick stop on the legendary Annapurna Circuit. But if you look closely, right across the wooden bridge over the rushing river, there's a narrow, tiny trail tucked away between gray limestone cliffs. That's the entrance to the Narfu Valley. At the military checkpoint in Koto, the vibe suddenly shifts. Solemn. The restricted area permits are checked thoroughly, line by line. Here, it's not just about money or health. You need permission from the land itself. Crossing through the checkpoint, I clearly felt a change. The phone signal faded until it vanished completely. The noise from the groups of international tourists stayed behind. All that remained was the roar of the Marchiandi River below and the steady beat of my heart. A solitude started to take over, but it was a solitude full of freedom. We've officially entered forbidden land. The journey from Koto up to the heights isn't for the faint of heart. The path is carved right into the sheer cliff face. There are spots where the rock juts out overhead, like it's trying to crush your shoulders. They call these the breath-stealing canyons. Look down there at the Narkala River, that deep turquoise blue but raging like crazy. It's taken millions of years for it to wear down these massive stone blocks. Limestone makes this path just as dangerous as it is today. Right above us are signs of the most recent rockfalls. Boulders the size of houses lie scattered, snapping ancient pines like they're just toothpicks. Every step here demands total focus. The ground is covered in gravel and dust that's super slippery. Sometimes we have to stop and press ourselves against the rock wall to let a caravan of loaded mules pass by going the other way. The metallic sound of its bells ringing out across the vast forest creates a ghostly yet oddly real feeling. Here, nature doesn't serve humans. Instead, it forces us to submit and respect its laws. After leaving the stifling Narkala Gorge behind, we climb up to 3,500 meters. Suddenly, the space lights up and stretches out endlessly. Welcome to Meta, the first stop on the plateau. But Meta isn't like any village you've seen before. This place gives off a lonely kind of sadness, yet it's full of pride. The gray stone houses resting quietly at the foot of the mountain tell us about a turbulent past. Not many know that back in the 60s and 70s, Meta was a secret base for Khampa warriors. those brave Tibetans who stood up to defend their faith and homeland. Look at those thick stone walls. They were built not just to withstand the biting cold of the Himalayas, but also fierce battles. Now the warriors are gone, and only abandoned ruins remain. Walking into a ruined house, the smell of age, dry stone, and dust hits my senses. It's like I can hear horses neighing, swords being sharpened, and oaths echoing from the past. Metta isn't just a technical stop, it's an open-air museum celebrating human courage. Leaving Metta, the path takes us through these stone sols. Along the trail, the Mani walls stretch out, endless and mysterious. Watch closely. In every one of them, the Om Mani Padme Hum mantras have been carefully carved thousands of times. Tens of thousands of stones like these have been placed by travelers and locals over the centuries. Each stone is a prayer for peace, a seed of kindness planted in Mother Earth's womb. According to tradition, we always walk on the left side of the Mani wall as a way to align with the universe's spin. Between the stone walls, ancient Chorten stupas rise up. The geometric shapes of the tower represent the 5 elements: earth, water, fire, air, and space. Amid the vast, wild nature, these spiritual symbols bring a strange sense of calm. They remind us that even in the most remote places, people always seek to connect with the divine and find comfort in faith. Suddenly, a huge shadow glides over our heads. It's the Himalayan vulture. These cleaners of the plateau, with wingspans nearly 10 feet wide, soar through the sky like watchful gods. Survival. In this land of Tantric Buddhism, death isn't something to be afraid of. The locals believe in reincarnation, and vultures are seen as messengers carrying the souls of the dead to the heavenly realm through the ritual of sky burial. Then you come across Chiao, a tiny village tucked against the mountainside, where life sprouts right out of the cracks in the dry rock. The people here are masters of endurance. They grow barley in tiny terraced fields, where every seed has to fight through the freezing cold to sprout. The steady clack, clack, clack sound keeps going on. It's the sound of the handmade loom. In a sunny corner of the porch, an old woman carefully weaves yak's colorful wool threads. Hands rough and cracked from wind and frost, yet they weave the softest, most beautiful rugs. People in Xiao are like wildflowers growing out of stone, quiet but tough as nails. They don't need much to be happy, just a warm roof, a loom to weave on, and a peaceful soul ready for whatever the sky and earth throw their way. Tonight, we'll rest in Xiao, listening to the wind whistle through the rocks and the beat of our own hearts, in tune with the plateau. Leaving Xiao, the path to the village of Fu gets wilder than ever. We head into Kyung, a desolate plain where humans are just passing visitors, while the real owners are the ghosts. Himalayan blues. Check out those sheer cliffs. You can spot creatures that seem to defy gravity. That's the blue sheep of the Himalayas, also called the Baral. They're not really blue, though. Their fur is a clever mix of gray and pale blue, which helps them blend right in with the old limestone rocks. Watching a herd of blue sheep move along the cliff is all about balance. They jump from rocky ledge to ledge with total confidence, like gravity doesn't even matter. It's like you don't even exist. Your appearance means we're reaching the highest limits of life, where only the strongest can survive. In Nang, nature isn't just beautiful, it's a stage for the purest survival instincts. Before you set foot in Fu village, there's a place every traveler has to show respect to: the Tashilakang Monastery, built back in the 10th century and blessed by Padmasambhava. It's one of the oldest and most sacred temples in the Himalayan region, where the locals believe the enlightened one's footprints are still etched into the rock. Climbing the stone steps up to the monastery, over 4,100 meters high, you'll feel a different kind of energy. Tashilakang has a quiet beauty, with its walls stained a deep red that stand out against the clear blue sky. Once you pass through the heavy wooden door, the atmosphere shifts instantly. The scent of incense blends with the warm smell of butter tea. The soft glow of the butter lamps lights up the ancient murals and bronze statues, all wrapped in the passage of time. The whisper of the lama's chants, mixed with the wind sneaking through the cracks, creates a sacred and strange atmosphere. In Tashilakang, time isn't measured in minutes, but by the turns of the prayer wheels. From the courtyard, the village of Fu unfolds before us, small and lonely, yet guarded by a faith that's lasted 1,000 years. And finally, after so many days of waiting, the village of Fu. Fu appears before us at an altitude of over 4,000 meters. It's not just a village, it's like a stone fortress clinging tightly to the mountainside. The architecture here is an amazing example of teamwork. The houses are built on top of each other, leaning on one another to withstand the biting cold and snowstorms of the highlands. The roof of one house serves as the courtyard for the next. There are no paved roads or flat bricks, just narrow, winding paths like a maze where you can touch the stone walls of 2 homes at once. Living up this high, everything feels precious, from a dry twig to a single barley grain. The houses in Fu have big windows to keep the heat from escaping, but inside every kitchen, the fire is always burning strong and lively. That fire is the heart of the village, the spot where every family member comes together after a long, tiring day working on the steep, rocky slopes. Life in the village of Fu is an epic tale of survival. Here, people live on the edge of existence, where the air thins and winter can drag on for half the year. But you won't hear any complaints, just warm smiles and bright eyes. The main jobs around here are raising jacks and weaving wool rugs. Jacks don't just give milk and meat, their thick fur is used to make cozy blankets and tunics. The craft of weaving in Fu has been passed down through generations. Every rug is a masterpiece, the result of patience and love for this dry land. Sitting by the fire, sipping salty butter tea, we hear stories about winters when snow covers everything and about migrations to escape the cold. In the village of Fu, people don't try to conquer nature, they choose to blend with it and lean on it to survive. The warmth of humanity here seems enough to melt even the eternal ice on those distant peaks. As we moved away from the pride of the town of Fu, we started our descent deep into the gorge to reach a place called the Station of Souls, the Narfati Monastery. Narfati isn't a village, there's just a monastery there, inhabited by nuns, completely cut off from the outside world. If the town of Fu is a fortress up high, Narfati is like a late-blooming lotus flower down at the bottom of the abyss. In this corner, life goes on in a complete silence. The nuns of Narfati take care of running the temple and welcoming travelers who've lost their way. They don't see it as a business, but as a vital part of their spiritual practice, planting seeds of good karma through hospitality. Watching the kind smiles of the sisters, free from any hint of worldly vanity, all the weariness from the long journey just seems to melt away. There's a strange, peaceful energy that flows from every corner of this place and seeps into every one of our sighs. The night in Narfati is an experience I'll carry with me for life. No electric lights, no engine noises, just candlelight flickering and casting shadows on the ancient frescoes. Dinner is simple, a bowl of hot rice, lentil dalbat soup, and steaming butter tea. But in that complete silence, the taste of the rice and the smell of the cooking smoke become incredibly intense. We often get obsessed with climbing to the peaks, but sometimes happiness is just sitting quietly, listening to the fire crackle, and feeling calm inside. When the night bell rings, the nuns start their evening chants. Those deep, steady sounds are like a fresh spring that washes away worries and the proud ego of the traveler. Under the flickering candlelight, faces seem almost unreal. In Narfati, I realize that before trying to conquer the high mountains that lie ahead, we must first conquer the turmoil within our own hearts. Tonight, we sleep under the temple roof, surrounded by the howl of the wind in the canyon and the warmth of faith. It's a needed spiritual prep before entering the final stage of the journey, the Shepherd's Kingdom, the village of Nar. To reach the valley's final realm, we have to face the ultimate challenge, the legendary zigzag climb that leads there. At over 4,000 meters high, every step feels like it weighs a ton, and the air is thin so tight that your chest feels like it's about to burst. But when you reach the top of the slope, all the physical pain suddenly fades away, replaced by a feeling of awe that's hard to put into words. Nar spreads out open and radiant, brighter than any place we've been through. If the village of Phu is a fortress up high, Nar is like a kingdom of light and color. The drying yards for crops stretch side by side over the flat rooftops, painting the landscape with the deep red of barley and the bright golden dry grass. A colorful picture painted against the deep blue sky and the pure white of the surrounding peaks. Nar isn't just a village, it's a bold statement of life standing strong against harsh nature. With over 300 people, Nar is the biggest and most thriving village in the area. Here, people don't just survive, they've managed to tame the harsh environment. Watch how they get ready for the coming winter. The food storage system in Nar.
It's a testament to ancient wisdom. Beneath every stone house, there are survival treasures, enough food stored for both people and livestock to last the 6 months when snow blocks the way back. The shepherds of Nar have this strange calm about them. They know that up here, rushing is the enemy and patience is a virtue. With each passing season, they quietly lead their flocks to higher pastures and head back when the first snowflakes start to fall. Their life is a cycle of repetition, but each moment holds a quiet inner strength, shaped over thousands of years in the heart of the Himalayas. In Nar, life isn't measured by clocks, it's measured by sunlight and the rhythm of the seasons. When the first light of dawn touches the stone walls, the whole village wakes up from its slumber. The women walk silently, carrying sacks of seeds to the small terraces that hang precariously on the slopes. At over 4,000 meters above sea level, the barley is almost the only living thing that can thrive here. For a seed to sprout in this remote place, it has to beat bone-chilling cold, dry winds, and nutrient-poor, barren soil. Every harvest is a risky gamble against nature. A little further on, men lead the jacks and sheep up to the higher pastures. They walk for hours along steep trails where one wrong step could mean disaster. But for them, this is just everyday life. They know every rock and every ravine like the back of their hand because it's the same path their ancestors walked for hundreds of years. At noon, there's no long break. A simple meal of barley bread and salty butter tea is enough to keep going. When the sun starts to dip behind the peaks, the village slows down again. Smoke rises from the stone rooftops. Kids run through narrow alleys, while the grown-ups sit by the loom, weaving blankets that hold the spirit, the plateau. In Nar, there's no divide between man and land. Life moves in an endless cycle of planting, herding, and harvesting, always getting ready for the harsh winter. It seems simple, but it's the miracle that's kept them alive for centuries in a place where life is more fragile than anywhere else in the world. Then nature gives us one last gift. Snow starts falling in the misty twilight. White flakes dance in the air, creating a smooth dance, but full of power. In a flash, Nar swaps his bright afternoon clothes for a pure white cloak. Every sound seems swallowed by the snow, leaving total silence. We take shelter in the warmth of the stone house. Outside, the freezing cold wraps everything up, but by this roaring fire, only our humanity grows. A glass of local Raxi liquor goes around, and the stories of tough journeys start to feel lighter. The snow can freeze everything, but it can't cool the warm hearts of Nar's friendly locals. On our last night in Nar, we slept under the snow's protection, feeling a peace that no busy city could ever offer. Before the last images of Narfu fade from memory, there's something I need to say, something most travel videos skip because it's not pretty or fitting with the upbeat vibe of adventure documentaries. This land is standing at a critical crossroads. Climate change is melting the glaciers, which are a crucial lifeline for the villages on this plateau. Recent studies show that glaciers in the Himalayan region are melting faster than anywhere else in the world, except for the two poles. Once these water sources dry up, the ancient terrace farming system of the people in Narfu won't be able to survive. At the same time, the pull of the cities is growing stronger than the call of the mountains. Young families are gradually moving to Kathmandu or bigger cities, looking for schools, hospitals, and job opportunities. No one has the right to judge that, because wanting a better life for your kids is a natural instinct for any parent. The real question for us, the ones watching this video and curious about places like Narfu, is this. When we come into a place like this as tourists, what do we bring with us, and what do we take away? There's no simple answer, but there are choices to make. Hire local guides instead of agencies from Kathmandu. Buy food and crafts directly from the locals at a fair price. Don't leave trash in the ravines where there's no collection service. And most importantly, come with respect, not like someone gawking at a living exhibit from the outside.
Narfu is beautiful exactly because it stays untouched, and if we're not careful, that integrity could be lost in just one generation. The journey to Narfu doesn't end with a spot on the map, but with unforgettable marks left on the soul. We leave carrying with us the warmth of butter tea, the whisper of prayers, and the silence of snowy peaks. Narfu will still be there, hidden behind deep gorges and sheer cliffs, like a precious secret the Himalayas keep for those brave enough to seek it. We came to witness the greatness of nature, but we leave with a salute to human strength.
Goodbye to the land of stone souls. Farewell to the kingdom of clouds and snow. This journey's over, but the path to the real world will echo forever. If you're into stories about hidden lands, subscribe and hit the notifications so you don't miss our next adventures.